What is good, credit people, and welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Bobbalam cloning my pygmy goat, and its name is Uzi. And now the next one, which is the clone, will be named Juice WRLD, because apparently labels in 2017, before Juice WRLD popped off, were claiming that he was a clone of Lil Uzi Vert. Now I can see what they're saying, however I would have to disagree wholeheartedly, but we'll get into that in a second. So without further ado, Juice WRLD is a clone of Lil Uzi Vert. Let's talk about it. Okay, so to get right into the story, because this is real interesting and it actually might break out into a few more videos that I got regarding clones in the rap game, but it all started from a tweet from Taz Taylor, who is actually the CEO of Internet Money, a very famous producer collective that aided in Juice WRLD's come up by producing Lucid Dreams, All Girls Are the Same, among many other hit tracks with Juice WRLD, and actually even other artists. I'm pretty sure even Drake has worked with Internet Money at one point in time. But anyway, a couple specific tweets stood out to me, in which the first one was, "Stop putting new artists in a box. To the same artist y'all stan, they used to say was a clone of somebody else." Likely in response to Internet Money fans and just fans in the hip hop game in general saying that Internet Money is working with a bunch of Juice and other emo rap clones because that's what they're really known for. They worked with Ian Dior, Juice WRLD, Lil Skies, among many other people who are kind of in that same lane of more like depressed lyrics, kind of slower melodies. I don't know how to describe it. I'm no musicologist. But then the real significant tweet that sparked up a lot of conversation in the rap game, including on all major music media outlets like XXL and all that, Taz Taylor tweeted again saying, "I sent this folder to A&Rs in 2017, was told no, he was a Lil Uzi clone." Obviously in regards to Juice WRLD, because we can see a folder of songs that are known for being Juice WRLD's songs, including the likes of All Girls Are the Same, which was actually the first song that launched Juice WRLD's career with a Lyrical Lemonade video back in 2018. Now, as I claimed before, I do understand where the labels were coming from, especially in 2017 before Juice WRLD popped off, or really any emo rappers for that matter, because Lil Uzi Vert at the time was really known as being the only emo rapper in the game, and that's why he was so unique at the time, especially because this was soon after EXO Tour Life just hit the top 10 in the Hot 100 Billboard, and again, there was nothing like it at the time. And to describe what a Lil Uzi clone would be and like the shared characteristics of Juice WRLD and Lil Uzi, I guess would be like they're emo rappers, they're both rocking the rapper rock star personas and aesthetic, they both have colored dreads, you know, they're wearing like the, I don't even know, rock star clothes, I don't even know how you would describe that, and then they also have the melodic flows, which, you know, a lot of rappers weren't doing back in the day. I mean, we had Drake singing on like the R&B vibes, but that's completely different from the alternative emo influence that Uzi and Juice WRLD were very prominent in. However, if you ask me, Juice WRLD, and I think a lot of Juice fans would say this too, he didn't really sound like Lil Uzi at the time. He much more sounded like Post Malone. I mean, like, people literally thought that it was Post Malone on a track on like a different type of beat because their actual voices sound very similar. And Uzi with his melodies is a lot less controlled than Juice WRLD, in my opinion. Like, Uzi's kind of like on the Young Thug, like very sporadic pitching, whereas Juice WRLD's more of the alternative rock with Post Malone. And Post Malone doesn't even consider himself hip hop, whereas Lil Uzi does. But speaking of Lil Uzi clones in 2017, like these labels were claiming Juice WRLD was, and by the way, if this A&R who said no to Juice WRLD, and I assume it's multiple by Taz Taylor's diction in the tweet, they should get fired for not signing this dude because he was an overwhelming success. Legends Never Die just almost sold like 500K first week, and that's hella bread for your label, so you just missed out on a massive opportunity. But I guess what Taz Taylor is trying to say with this whole tweet storm is that a lot of labels are passing up on artists who have huge potential and they just don't see it. Labels are only looking for clout, honestly, and they should be looking for talent. But as I was saying, the real Lil Uzi clone in 2017, and this is by the rap game's perspective, not mine personally, although I'm not gonna lie, I was one of the proponents of saying that Trippie Redd may have been a Lil Uzi clone, and that Trippie Redd's melodic flows were definitely in the same type of zone as Uzi back in the day. Now, I wouldn't consider Trippie Redd a Lil Uzi clone at all looking back in retrospect, because the way Trippie Redd uses his voice is just way different. different with like the screeching and the, I don't even know what you would call it, like growling like a tiger on the track. But I bring this up because I just wanted y'all to know that in 2017, since Uzi was such a unique artist, so many artists coming up after him were seen to be an Uzi clone just because they were doing something different. Because again, Juice WRLD and Trippie Redd sound nothing like Uzi nowadays. And that is not to say they didn't have shared characteristics, because as we said before, Juice WRLD had colored dreads and the whole rock star aesthetic just like Lil Uzi. Now Trippie Redd had a very similar characteristic as well, in that he had the pure red dreads, obviously colored just like Uzi, but he was a little bit more hood than Uzi. Uzi had like the more fruity aesthetic, I would just say. He was wearing like the women's purses, very similar to Young Thug. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But first, I wanted to ponder a question as to when an artist is considered a clone of another, if or when they surpass the cloned artist in success of music and streams and clout, are they still considered a clone? Because at this point, Juice WRLD has technically somewhat passed Uzi in success of music by the numbers. I mean, Juice WRLD's Lucid Dreams, mind you, while he was still alive, so this is not just like some posthumous hype that happens after an artist passes away, reached number 2 on the Hot 100 Billboard by himself, whereas Lil Uzi Vert's highest charting solo single, because Bad and Bougie, hit number 1 and he was a feature on that, but EXO Tour Life peaked at number 7 on the Billboard. Not to mention that Juice WRLD's Legends Never Die posthumous album, so I guess it's a little unfair and skewed a bit, but it reached 500k first week. Now we could argue that if Lil Uzi Vert passed away tragically just as Juice WRLD did, maybe he would sell also 500k first week with Eternal Take or like some other album later on down the road, because Eternal Take only sold 300k or so that's not as much as Juice WRLD's Legends Never Die. But Juice WRLD, while he was still alive, on his sophomore album Death Race for Love, he actually did in fact sell more than Love Is Rage 2, which was Uzi's sophomore album, or maybe not even sophomore, it was like his 4th mixtape / album, selling almost 30k less albums first week. And by the way, this is not to hate on Uzi. I know some Uzi fans are gonna be offended by all these statements. I'm personally a bigger fan of Uzi than Juice WRLD. I love both of them, but can Juice WRLD technically still be a clone of Uzi in the eyes of these labels if he surpassed him in success of music? Technically, even before he passed away, because after you pass someone, if they hadn't already achieved it, isn't everything past that point technically original? But that's a question for the comments. 4, I wanted to get back to Taz Taylor's original statement though, of the same artist y'all stan they used to say was a clone of somebody else. In that, as I mentioned before briefly, Uzi was originally a clone to Young Thug back in the day, according to fans at least, especially with the aesthetic of like, you know, being somewhat homosexual and wearing women's purses in their outfits, you know, sucking on people's chains, doing the feminine like shoulder roll and shit. Even though we love it, I'm not judging him, but I'm just saying there's a long chain of artists who were clones of other, just because that's how the world works. There's always an influence before you that led you to where you are, and then you're gonna influence somebody else, and that happens the same thing in the rap game. As I said before, Uzi was a clone to Young Thug, technically speaking, and Young Thug was said to be a clone of Lil Wayne. I mean, even Young Thug's mixtape Barter 6 was like a play on words to Lil Wayne's The Carter series. Even Playboi Carti was considered a Chief Keef clone and a Young Thug clone now because of his more melodic style, and the list goes on. But something to take away is that some of these newer artists who are clones, y'all consider them clones today, but they will continue to develop their own sound and brand in the next couple years, and they might be the new artists that are getting cloned afterwards. I personally think that being considered a clone is honestly a good thing, because it categorizes you in some sort of genre, especially when you're blowing up. A lot of the fans of that artist that you cloned, in the perspective of fans, will start to mess with you. Now you'll get a bunch of hate, but at least you'll get eyeballs on your music, or ear balls, I guess. But in conclusion, I don't think Juice WRLD was ever a clone of Lil Uzi Vert. These labels are crazy. Again, the dudes who vetoed Juice WRLD and lost their respective labels so much money should be fired. So with that, it's your boy Bobbalam signing off, counting up the bread from all of these clones that my label is gonna sign, just in case one of them pops off. Because if you sign 100 artists and they fail, but then you sign that one artist like Juice WRLD and that shit pops off, it was all worth it. But let me know in the comments if you think Juice WRLD was a Lil Uzi Vert clone. Make sure to like and subscribe while you're at it for the latest hip-hop news, drama, and analysis videos, as well as to follow me on all my socials in the description and join the Bob Gang if you with it. Peace out, cutie people. Know what I'm saying?